Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Women's HQ Survivors Coffee Circle podcast today. And we have a very special guest today from the Capital Area Food Bank, President and CEO of Capital Area Food Bank, Mrs. Radha Muthiah.
Thank you for having
Welcome
me.
to our program. We are so elated to have you here today.
Thank you so much.
And we are just going to take us through a little bit about Capital Area Food Bank, ask you some policy questions, and so our audience can understand what you do and how enforceable you are and impactful you are to our community.
I really look forward to it. Thank you for having me.
So, Rada, during domestic, during pre and post COVID, we had a real expansion of cases of domestic violence reported in America. And in that, we had a lot of survivors trying to flee their abusers to get to safe space. In your experience as leadership at Capital Area Food Bank, how did you incorporate that community into your budget of food aid that you were giving out to uh, these particular people in need?
Sure. Well, thank you for that question, and thank you for being so focused on the needs of survivors. It's so important to have others helping and mentoring and allowing them to use their own voice as well. So I appreciate what you're doing. The Capital Area Food Bank, just to be able to set it in some context, has been serving the Metro DC area, so DC, Northern Virginia, and Montgomery and Prince George's County in Maryland for 42 years now. So we are so privileged to be a community member that is really focusing on the needs of the food insecure. You're right, during COVID, there's so many things that really got elevated to a level that we've never experienced before as a region or as a country. We were providing about 30 million meals worth of food every year prior to the pandemic. And at the height of the pandemic, that was in the range of 70 to 75 million meals worth of food. And just last year, we were at 65 million meals worth of food. So even as we're coming out of the pandemic, there's just still a heightened and elevated level of need. Now, we work through about 300 plus community partners to get the food to those who need it. And we're very conscious about understanding who needs it. Those who are houseless, those who may be surviving a domestic abuse situation, those who are seniors, those who might be temporarily food insecure. They had jobs before, they now need support because they've lost their jobs, and those who might be chronically food insecure and have suffered this intergenerational cycle of poverty. So we try to take into account the needs of all of these different types of communities. And the reason we try to understand who we're providing food to is there may be certain types of foods that are better suited to certain types of audiences as well. For our houseless population, we need to give them food that doesn't assume they have a kitchen, but they're able to get their food. For those who might be fearful of being in public for whatever reason, maybe it's because they don't want to encounter someone who may have been an abuser in the past, we think about very discreet ways that enable them to get the food that they need without necessarily being in a situation that makes them feel uncomfortable. So we do try and understand all of the different target segments and what their needs might be. Again, as you can imagine, seniors, very different diets, from young kids, etc. So in terms of the budget question, we have been so fortunate that our community around us has understood that there are significant needs of those most vulnerable, and they've supported through food and financial donations to the food bank. And that has allowed us to increase our budget fivefold for the types of food that we're purchasing. And it's enabled us to give the variety of food that is required to be able to meet the needs of everyone. So the budget is there, and we allocate according to different segments of the population that we need to serve. So we're extremely thankful to our community of those who are better off, who are not facing food insecurity, their care and kindness towards those who are, and their support to the food bank for being able to meet those individuals' needs.
And that makes one heck of a difference when you're in shelter care and you don't have the necessary public benefits in place to really carry you through, and especially when you have families that are in care.
Right.
You have children to feed, you have children to send off to school, and making sure that the nutritional factors are met at every corner for them, right? And one of the things that I find amazing about what you do in your work at Capital Area Food Bank is the volume of people and the need base that you meet every single day.
Mm-hmm.
It's the expansion of, like you said, your co-partners, your government, non-government, however you get your support in the space. It's just phenomenal.
It is a network, and we are so humbled to be at the center of that network. And as you say, we've worked with hundreds of partners. So many community organizations became temporary partners during COVID. They had never distributed food before, but their clients, those who are coming to them, whether it was for clothing or housing or something else, were saying, we need food. And so they reached out to us to say, we can help you distribute food. We've not done it before. You'll have to help us, with safety standards and storage and all of those things, but we want to be able to be a part of the value chain in getting food out to people. So absolutely, we've done that. And just the one thing I'd say is there were about 400,000 people in our community who needed support with food prior to the pandemic. And we just released a hunger report a couple of months ago. Over 1 million people needed food assistance at one point or another in the course of the last year. So there's still an elevated need.
And that brings us to the next question for you is the innovative approaches that you've been taking. The leadership is just unmatched at what you do, but the innovative ways that you do, programming and community, outreach is amazing as well.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the new approach you're taking with your curbside food truck.
Curbside
Bernie
groceries.
told me that you had this phenomenal program of curbside food truck service.
Thank you for asking about that.
Yes.
But the first thing I have to say is the innovation doesn't necessarily just come from us. It comes from us hearing from those who need help. And so our clients, our neighbors in need are the ones who share information with us in terms of what their needs are, how could they be better serviced, and that is what we rely on. So we do surveys that are formal, we have informal check-ins, we have a client leadership council that you have been an amazing graduate of, who help give us ideas. And so and we hear something a few more times, and then we know there's a need in the community. And first what we do is look to see, are others providing this? And I'll talk about the curbside groceries because there are many food deserts, as you know, across our area.
Yes.
And food deserts, for your listeners, are those areas that don't have a full-service grocery store that is close enough to where people live. And so they might have to take a bus, a train, some other means to get there. And people are busy. And we know that those who are most vulnerable are in many ways the most busy. Juggling multiple jobs, trying to pick up kids from a grandparent's house, there's no time. And so to ask them to travel an hour to get their groceries is just unfair. And so what Curbside Groceries does is it comes to these neighborhoods. It's a grocery store on wheels, and it comes to these neighborhoods that are far away or inconvenient transportation-wise to a full-service grocery store. So we have 2 curbside groceries. One is in Ward 8 in DC, and one is in Prince George's County. And we have an amazing team headed by our colleague Dewan, who runs both of these curbside trucks. And each curbside truck carries produce, protein, dairy, eggs, good, nutritious, healthy food at affordable prices. And so we're excited about what these 2 trucks are doing. Over the last 2 years of COVID, we had to abide by all of the mayor's rules and in Prince George's County when people could come on the truck, when they couldn't, when we could be on the road, when we couldn't. So it's been a bit on again, off again, but we're so excited to be able to get it up and running in a more consistent way.
That's awesome. And tell our audience how payment is made.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Yeah, payment is made in a variety of different ways. So if you have food stamps, your EBT card is absolutely welcome. If you want to pay using cash, absolutely welcome. You've got a credit card or a gift card. Basically, almost any means of payment is welcome. And we track it on a sort of weekly basis to know what's selling, so we know what to put more of on the truck. The next time it goes out,
Oh,
and
wow.
we're able to provide discounts for produce in particular, because we know how important that is and how expensive it can be for people,
Yes.
and we want to make it affordable as much as possible. And we also track methods of payment, and so we're able to see that in the beginning of the month, the first half of the month, a lot more EBT usage. And as we all know, food stamps don't cover
Cover the whole month.
whole month.
That's right.
So we see it even in that, the dip in food stamp usage in the second half of the month, people using more cash and other means as well.
So this truck goes to designated locations.
That's right. Yes,
And
we have about 8 to 12. I think it's 12 sites in Ward 8, and about the same in Prince George's County. And we advertise that there's a website for it. We can and we use various different means of texting and letting customers know that we're coming. It's a dedicated site at a dedicated time at a dedicated day, and we're usually there about 2 hours at that stop,
Okay.
and then move on to the next stop.
Okay.
So if there's interest, and we're focusing really on seniors, because it's more difficult for them to
get
get
out.
from one location to another, and those who are mobility constrained for whatever reason. We service anyone. Anybody who steps up to the truck can buy whatever they want, but we're in particular trying to target these two groups, seniors and mobility constrained, because we know how much harder it is for them to be able to get to the full service grocery store.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That is very, very, very helpful to the community that's struggling
Yeah.
post and pre and post. Excuse me.
Yeah, no, and,
COVID.
and this is co-designed by the community. That's what I like to
Oh.
say. Our ideas are not generated on our own; they're generated
Well,
with our
and
community members.
what you had just previously mentioned about the CLC committee, I want to get into as well.
Mhm.
Client Leadership Committee, or Client Leadership Council, excuse me, is comprised of, it's an advocacy group of people like
Wonderful
myself
people like
that utilize the food bank at one time in our demise of walk of need, and I'm proud of sharing that with my audience, because I felt it was very important to let people know about Capital Area Food Bank and what you do and how important you are in our community.
Mhm.
And when you're existing in this space and you need to utilize public resources, couldn't couldn't do without you.
Mhm.
But the Client Leadership Council, they we were the first class, and I want Radha to tell you all about this initiative of advocacy that they do with the Client Leadership Council.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being part of that
Oh, I
amazing,
love
stellar
it.
class, and just an incredible contributor during that
Thank
class.
you.
The Client Leadership Council is something we had thought about 3 or 4 years ago, and it was so important for us to understand, how do we continuously engage client voice in everything that we do. So we talked about curbside groceries earlier, where it was partly developed through the input of our clients. Second, we knew that just us as Capital Area Food Bank advocating for different policies, etc., would be good, but how much better would it be if we had community members, alongside us advocating for things that would benefit them and others like them. And so as a result, we realized that we needed to pull together a group of individuals and help these individuals tell their stories of self, and help them really choose the topics that are of interest to them to advocate, that are also of interest to the food bank, and to be able to develop those skill sets so that they could, share their stories with, that influence policy, that influence the press, etc. So we hired a wonderful individual to direct that team, Adam LaRose, who you may
Yes.
speak with at some point.
Yes.
And he has a colleague, Julia, who, and both of them have helped run these client leadership councils. And we have about 20 amazing people like yourself from all walks of life,
Yeah.
across the region, all age groups, ethnicities, etc. Because that's the diversity that we need, the diversity of ideas and thought and engagement. And we are so proud of everything that first class did, your class, especially since it was a COVID class.
Yeah.
And also the second class that, came on your heels and did incredibly well. And we're about to kick off the third one, in the next few weeks.
And keep it going, because it gives people with lived experience a platform to come to advocate and share their voice.
Absolutely.
And when people that are present in those moments of need see someone who has been there, done this, and is now at another platform in this that can advocate and echo what they need to hear to move forward in life, it's so important for these kind of programs to exist. It's very important. It makes you feel needed and wanted, and it makes you feel like, hey, if they overcame their
I
demise,
can too.
I can do this too,
Absolutely. And that's the power of this program. It's the
Right.
power from within, because the food bank has done nothing but enable what was already there. It's what was within you as an example, and how you've taken that and how you've told your story and how you're helping others. And, I just heard pre-broadcast, you're talking about all the partnerships that are now being formed.
Right.
It's amazing.
Right.
And so for us to feel that we were a tiny part of that journey, and how we benefit is so significant when your voice is out there in the community. So it makes us feel just so hopeful.
I tell you, I never partnered with a group so very passionate about getting people on track as Capital Area Food Bank. I have to say this to you, Radha. With your leadership, under your guidance, it made coming to the platform of the Client Leadership Council was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It really was.
Well, thank you for saying that. But I give all the credit to my colleagues, Adam and Julia, for creating that safe, comforting, enabling, and I hope inspiring space.
Oh, it was a very
for
inspiring
all of you.
space. We met good people. We now are connected. I still, people that were in the class, I still connect with. They're still my friends, and Adam will be my lifelong friend. So will Julia. I mean, they are terrific
Yes.
people. But Client Leadership Council also provided an outreach of learning how to contact your political
That's right.
your political leadership,
Absolutely.
what to say, how to engage, how to approach, how to make sense out of your story, how do you tell about your advocacy work in the space, how do you tell about your lived experience in the space. Some people are ashamed of lived experience. Some people don't want to come to the mic or the
Right.
camera and say, I've been homeless, I've been hungry, I've been this, I've been that, and this gives them support. It gives them a comfort that they need to really focus in and hone in on telling their story their way.
Yeah, no,
And
I
not
think
being
that's so important. And each of the graduates has had an amazing story to tell, and just finding that voice, and as you say, using it and knowing how to use it to affect change and impact is I think sometimes the most powerful thing.
That is
and
powerful.
So it's amazing.
And speaking of power, you have been featured in the Washingtonian magazine. I just had to get one out there because I'm so proud of her. And with that, influence that you have in nonprofit leadership, it gives us the motivation we need to continue on our work and get to the levels that you've succeedingly gotten to. But little birdie told me that you are going to be participating in an upcoming summit.
That's right. Well, first, let me say, these things like the Washingtonian that I'm deeply grateful for reflect the work of the food bank and its partners. I just happen to be at the helm, and so it's easy to pick, one person. But I also understand how that can help influence and enable others, to want to get to a place too. I've been mentored by so many amazing women and men, throughout the course of my life, and I know how important that is. So if there's a small way in which I can play that role for others, I am just deeply delighted.
Well, you have played it
So-
for me personally. You're my go-to mentor.
That is very kind.
I love you, Radha. I
Oh,
love you in
goodness.
every way that a professional woman of color could actually attach
That means
to
so
one
much,
another.
and I really do feel like we are kindred spirits in that regard.
Yes,
So
you're awesome.
absolutely, but you are right. For the first time in 50 years,
Yes,
we are
can you
having
imagine
a
this?
White House conference on
Can you
hunger,
imagine this?
nutrition, and health. And I'm so excited that I have to say this long name and that it didn't stop at hunger, because obviously hunger is very important. But we know that nutrition and health and equity are just as important, and they're all interrelated. And so it's so exciting that your guest, your first guest, Congressman McGovern,
Government,
really
yes.
championed this and enabled it to happen.
Yes, he did.
And I am delighted that the Capital Area Food Bank is being invited to participate. We have shared different ways in which we can, showcase some of the innovations,
Absolutely.
like curbside groceries, like some of our food and health pilots. We've got a food pharmacy at Children's National Hospital that helps children who come in who are either predisposed to diabetes or already have diabetes, helps them. They get the clinical care that they need, but they
Yes.
also get the good nutritious food, and they get it on an ongoing basis, because we know good food can help lead to better health outcomes. So it's things like that that we hope we're able to showcase, because we think they could be scaled to a national level, and everyone can have it, take advantage of programs like this. But we're also deeply, deeply interested in taking the government food programs, SNAP, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, TFAP, which they're already strong. We just have learned so much over the years about how we can make it stronger, how we can ensure that our clients can access these programs more,
That's right.
how to expand who can participate in these programs and not stick with the definition that was developed a few decades ago.
That's right.
Our world has changed, our community has changed.
That's
So
right.
we're excited for that conference,
Yes.
and hoping to have some good results there that can help carry us forward. And I'm optimistic that we will.
And I'm totally sure that it will. Um, we also learned that you have some more innovative approaches coming down the pike here with your expansion. You said in Northern Virginia.
Yes, that's right. So there's several things that the food bank never sits still, because we
Never.
have to help our clients all the time, and we want to help them with the needs that they have today. So all the food that we provide, but we want to help them get out of those circumstances of vulnerability. We want to break that intergenerational cycle of poverty, so that I always say a 7-year-old girl doesn't have to be a 27-year-old woman who's still dependent on the emergency food assistance network. And so in that regard, we are doing several things. We are bundling food with partner provided education programs, skill development programs, certification programs, because we don't want people to keep minimum wage jobs. We want everyone to have a living wage job.
Right.
And these certifications and education can help people get to that point. And so we are bundling food with programs that are provided at community colleges, at high schools, elementary schools, and workforce development institutes. So we're excited about that, because it helps enable brighter futures for our clients. And we're also expanding our food and health related programming. So having, we know that so many of our clients don't go to their routine wellness checks. They don't have the time. They're juggling multiple different jobs. And so what we're trying to do is say, please, when you're pregnant, go to those prenatal checks. And every time you go, you will be able to get good, healthy food for you and your family. And so we're just trying to create a little bit more of that incentive, and trying to create a one-stop shop. You go here, you get your wellness check, you get your food. You don't have to go to two separate places. That's for pregnant women. It could be for others, who are suffering other forms of health outcomes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease.
Yes.
We're exploring partnerships there and bundling good, nutritious food with those services as well.
And see, there you have it. Capital Area Food Bank is not just passing out boxes of food goods. They're doing an explosive expansion of very impactful and meaningful programming. And we want to thank you
Oh, goodness.
for being the leadership.
Oh, well, thank you as well. As I've mentioned, it takes all of us in our community. We are so thankful for those who support us to enable us to do our work. We're so thankful to our partners, who help in different communities. We wouldn't be able to get the food out ourselves. We're reliant on so many partners. We're thankful to our new partners, the colleges, the clinics, the affordable housing sites, education sites to partner with us. And we're thankful for people like you who use their voice for the betterment of the community. It all makes a difference, and we're in this together. So
Yes, we are, Radha. Yes,
truly
we
enjoy
are.
that.
And we want you to give us the website for
Sure.
Capital Area Food Bank so people can follow your initiative, your programming, and know your
Absolutely.
scheduling for your food
Yes,
truck.
no, for sure. Thank you. So we're at www.capitalareafoodbank.org, and you'll be able to find if you want to come and volunteer with us, or you want to go to curbside and figure out the sites on curbside. You want to read more about our programming. We are more than happy to have you engage with us.
Radha, thank you for being here
Thank you.
today.
It's my
We
pleasure.
are honored to have you. And yes, please do go to the Capital Area Food Bank's website. Please consider donating to the Capital Area Food Bank. They are in constant need of donations, of course, to keep the wheels running on those trucks. And we do enjoy having you here today. We share this information, and please, when you go out and you talk to people about the Capital Area Food Bank, remember they're not just a box of food. They have an expansion of programs that can really impact your community. Thank you all for being here today with the Women's HQ Survivors Coffee Circle. Be well.